Welcome to my channel and welcome to my 25 books to read in 2025 video. Before we get started, my name is Emily, I'm 27 years old, and I absolutely love books and reading. So let's get into it. Today I wanted to talk about 25 books on my 2025 TBR. I really wanted to make this video before January ends because there's so many good books on my radar for this year, and I've split this video into 12 new releases that are coming out later this year and 13 books that are already on my physical TBR. I do have two books that kind of fall in between new releases and physical TBR because they came out in January of this year and I already bought them because I had some Christmas gift cards and because I can't help myself. So first up on that list is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Erriu. The back of this one says it is a dazzling new romantasy series that blends Greek mythology and shadow magic with the tantalizing enemies to lovers romance that will rewrite the stars. I'm sorry, can we just take a moment to admire that blurb on the back of this book? I'm sat. I can't wait to start this one. I think I'm going to try to get to this one pretty soon in February if I am able to, but the front says, "Can love overcome fate?" I'm just so excited for this one. So that one's Heavenly Bodies. And then another January release from this year is The Favorites by Layne Fargo. This one is about two renowned figure skaters and their relationship, and it says it's like an epic love story set in the world of figure skating. It says, "To the world they were a scandal, to each other an obsession." And the inside says something about there's a 10-year anniversary approaching of their final skate, and there's an unauthorized documentary. It just seems like this is going to be so dramatic and twisty, and the cover is just like very eye-catching. I'm really glad I have this one on my shelf. It's like the two figure skaters on the front, and then it kind of looks like there's ice like over top of it and the skate marks over top of that. I don't know. I'm just really excited about this one. And the back also says that this is like a reimagining of Wuthering Heights, so I'm really intrigued by that. Overall, this one also just sounds so good, and I hope to get to this one honestly this week. So I really want to start this one soon because this one's calling to me right now. So now some upcoming new releases. First, I have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This is set to come out early next month, so honestly I think it comes out in like 2 weeks at this point. But this is the third book in the Emily Wilde series. And those two books were in my top books of 2024, so I'm really excited for this one. I don't even know exactly what the plot of this one is about, and I need to like recap how the second one ended before I go into the third one. But I just loved the first two so much. I really like to describe this series as Adult Spiderwick Chronicles, so if you read that series as a kid, meets The Holiday, which is that Christmas movie with like Jude Law and Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz. It is just so good. I hear this one described as like a cozy fantasy a lot, but I personally think there are some stakes to it, so it definitely is cozy, but there's more to it, in my opinion. Next is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and I am fully ready to re-enter my Hunger Games era when this book comes out in March. If you're a Hunger Games fan, you know that we've been waiting for a Haymitch prequel for 10 years at least, and we are finally getting it, and I'm so excited. I've always been a Hunger Games girl. It's one of the first book series I remember reading as a kid, and I just also remember the visceral reaction I had when I got to that part in Mockingjay. You know what part I'm talking about. If you know, you know. And I had a visceral reaction. I literally threw the book across the room. My middle school self was not okay. I couldn't deal. So I'm just so excited for Haymitch's prequel to come out. I think I'm going to reread all of the Hunger Games books in March to prep for this release. So let me know in the comments if you guys would like to see a Hunger Games reading vlog or something like that. I think that would be really fun to do. So that's Sunrise on the Reaping. Then in April, we are getting fed. First up is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which is coming out on April 1st. I don't even need to know what this one is about in order to add it to this list. Not only because it's an Abby Jimenez book, but because the title is Taylor Swift coded. Abby never misses, and I'm so excited for this one. The cover is so cute. There's like a little dog on the cover and that Ferris wheel, and I just love it so much. I can't wait to read this one. Next in April, we have Enchantra, which is the next book in Kaylie Smith's Wicked Games series. This is the same author as Phantasma, which was a popular one towards the end of 2024. It's like a popular gothic fantasy romance, and this one follows the main character's sister from the first one. This one seems like it has more of a Regency vibe based on the description and the cover. I'm not too sure, I could be making that up, but I'm just getting a Regency vibe from it. And I know the main character Genevieve, who is the main character from the first one's sister, goes to Italy for some like Italian getaway and ends up getting like trapped in this game in her host's mansion. So this one just seems really interesting, and I like the backdrop of Italy. And then the queen, Emily Henry herself, has her next book coming out in April as well, on April 22nd, and that one is called Great Big Beautiful Life. I think this one follows like rival journalists who are competing to like have the rights for a biography for this like socialite actress type of person. I really liked Funny Story last year, but I wasn't a fan of Happy Place from the year before. So I'm interested to see what I think of when this one comes out. Then in May, The Night and the Moth is probably my most anticipated read of 2025 in total. This is by Rachel Gillig, who wrote One Dark Window, which I was obsessed with. It was a pretty popular book that was universally loved, I feel like. The art that Rachel Gillig has been posting on her Instagram is just like so moody and romantic, and it just screams like the perfect enemies to lovers romantasy, and I'm really excited for it because One Dark Window is one of my favorite reads from 2023, I think, and I just feel like it had such a unique plot and the characters were so easy to root for, so I'm really excited for this one. Then in June, we are getting Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. One thing about me is I love astronomy and science and space and things like that. I actually used to teach middle school earth science, so that's just like a niche topic that I really love. And this one is about two astronauts. It's a romance, so put this all together, give me a romance set in the 80s with two astronauts, and I'm sold. Can't wait for this one. Sounds Like Love is Ashley Poston's newest magical realism book that's set to come out in June. And this one is about a songwriter and a musician who need to like reluctantly work together. The 7-Year Slip was one of my favorite books from a few years ago. And I did also really like A Novel Love Story from last year, even though I know that one was kind of hit or miss for some people. I did like it though, so I always encourage you to like go into a book with an open mind, even if other people aren't liking it, because I really did end up liking that one. With that being said, I'm really hopeful for Sounds Like Love. Next up, I really used to love thriller books, and I don't read them as often anymore, but I usually do try to read Riley Sager's newest release when he comes out with it. So his next release is called With a Vengeance, and it's set to come out in June as well. This one is giving Murder on the Orient Express, Hercule Poirot, noir movie vibes, and it's a locked room mystery, which is one of my favorite thriller tropes, and I'm really excited for this one. Then we have The Nightshade God by Hannah Whitten, which comes out in July, and this is the last book in the Foxglove King trilogy. I am obsessed with this book and the relationships in this book and the way that things are described. Her writing is just so visceral. You can really like see or feel what she's writing about. And the second book ended on a pretty heavy cliffhanger, so I really need to see where this story goes in the third book. This series follows a necromancer who is summoned to the king's castle because there's like these villages that are kind of just like dying overnight and nobody really knows why. And they need her to help figure out why these villages are dying overnight. But when she gets to the castle, things kind of like evolve and escalate from there. And it's really interesting and unique, and I'm so excited to see how this series wraps up. Last for new releases is The Art of Vanishing by Morgan Pager. I actually follow this author on Instagram and I really just love her content, and I'll link to her page in the description so you can check it out. But I just love her content. She works in publishing and lives in New York City, and she's now having her own book published, which is really exciting, and I feel like I'm really invested in this story. But the main character lives in New York City and works at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and she is somehow able to step into the paintings and like falls in love, and this just sounds so magical, and I'm really excited for this one. This one comes out in July. I'm sure there's like many other great new releases coming out later this year and even in the months I already mentioned, but this pretty much covers my list from January through July. So yeah, there's just a lot of really great books by some of my favorite authors coming out soon, and I'm really excited. Let me know in the comments if there's any other 2025 new releases that I might have missed or that you're excited for, and I'll add them to my TBR as well. But now on to some other books that are on my physical TBR. In my Kindle Unlimited book recommendation video, I did talk about a few books that are on my Kindle Unlimited TBR, but I really do want to work on my physical TBR this year and get through some of my like backlog things that I have sitting on my shelves for a while. So first up, I have Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. So I have have both of these books to read. This is a YA fantasy duology, and this one's like pretty universally loved, so I have high hopes for this one. I have a pretty strong feeling that I am going to like these ones, and I've been putting them off for a while for some reason, so I think I really just need to like sit down and start the first one day, and then I'll be hooked. So that's Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. And then next I have A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. My brother actually bought me this one for my birthday a few years ago, and this one is another YA fantasy. And I think this one is about like mirrors and stepping through portals. Yeah, she has the ability to travel through mirrors. And, oh, the series is called the Mirror Visitor series. So I was right about that. And I really haven't heard this one talked about a lot, but I've seen this one randomly thrown into a few lists with like the best romances in YA fantasy books. I'm curious to see where that goes because I really haven't heard much about this one, but I have seen it like once or twice thrown onto a list like that. So I'm excited to see what that's all about. So that's A Winter's Promise. And then next I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is supposed to be like a Regency era fae romance, and for some reason this book feels like springtime to me, so I want to save this for the spring. I feel like this is going to be Bridgerton mixed with ACOTAR, and I feel like that's a lot to live up to, but I do have high hopes for this one. So that's Half a Soul. And then next is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is a YA fantasy series that I saw a lot about on like BookTube and Bookstagram in the later half of 2024. This one is a few years old, so all of the books are already out, so it's a completed series, which is good, which means I won't be left hanging for a while. But this one seems like it has all of those YA fantasy tropes that we all know and love. I feel like this one is going to transport me back to like my middle school era of reading, and I'm excited for that. And I actually had started this one last year, but I wasn't really in the mood for a fantasy, so I did end up putting it aside because I do want to give it a fair chance, and I want to make sure I'm in the mood for this one when I do start it. So I'm hoping to get to this one soon, maybe in like March or something. So that's An Ember in the Ashes. And then next up, I have Between Friends and Lovers by Shirlene Obuobi. I believe this is a romance, but it reads more like a literary fiction, I think, about a doctor who is also a social media influencer. And she is torn between two of the men in her life, one of whom is famous, I think. And then I don't know who the other one is. Yeah, okay, so one of them is a rom-com heartthrob actor, and the other one is a author who just came out with his debut novel, and he kind of like becomes a star overnight. Yeah, there just seems like there's a lot of moving pieces in this book, and I'm excited for it. I think this is one of those romances where it's more about like finding your place in the world as a woman rather than being focused solely on the romance. So I feel like this one's going to be more of an emotional read, and the premise of this one is just interesting. Like I said, I feel like there's a lot of moving pieces with the social media aspect of it, and she's a doctor, and then we have the two other characters who are also in the spotlight. So I think it also will deal with like having the pressure on you, like because you're in the spotlight and things like that. So that's Between Friends and Lovers. And then I have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I think I'm going to start this one pretty soon actually too, because I do want to read it in winter. I've been waiting for the right time to start this one, and I think it is finally time. This one follows a small town where basically everyone's lives revolve around hockey, and an incident happens that kind of changes the trajectory of this town, and this is told from multiple viewpoints as all of the characters kind of grapple with this incident that happened. And I do have a pretty strong feeling of what that incident is, so I think you should maybe check trigger warnings before you read this one. So that's just something to be aware of, but I've heard that this one is so good, and all of the points of view just kind of like come together and weave this like really great story. So that's Beartown. And then I have The Ministry of Time. Oh, it's stuck. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. The Ministry of Time by Kaylie Bradley. This one is very interesting. It's a mix of a lot of different genres, so we have like sci-fi and literary fiction and a bit of romance thrown into it. This is another one that I had started last year, but it was like right book, wrong time, so I put it aside and I want to pick this one up again this year. Basically in this one, we're in like a near distant future where time travel is possible, and they bring back a man from the 1800s to the present day, and then the other main character is responsible people and assigned to him to like help him acclimate to being in the present day world, and then their relationship progresses from there. So like I said, mix of genres, very interesting, and I did like it when I started it, but it just wasn't the right time to read this one, so I did put it aside, and I will pick this one up again sometime this year. Okay, so that's Ministry of Time. Then I have Forged by Blood by Igbor Okason, and I had randomly ordered the Fairy Loot edition of this from Mercari a few months ago for no reason, just because it was so stunning. Like, the cover is really pretty and the sprayed edges are really, really intricate. I've never really seen sprayed edges that are that detailed. And then the inside had really great art as well. So there's lots of like really nice art in this edition. I'll show you the back too. And I don't know, I really don't even know what this is about. I just really liked this edition and I got it on Mercari. Let's see. It says, a tale of rebellion and redemption, love and lies. Forged by Blood is an epic fantasy at its finest, richly steeped in Nigerian mythology. So, very interested in this one. I hope to maybe start this one in the spring at some point, but it's just such a pretty edition, and I randomly ordered it because I really liked the edition. Then I have The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong, and this is a cozy fantasy, and this was another one where I was fully sold by the cover. It's so cute. We have a little cat on the front and she's sitting in this like caravan, and I've heard that, like I said, this is a cozy fantasy. A wandering fortune teller finds an unexpected family in this warm and wonderful debut fantasy, perfect for readers of Travis Baldree and Sangu Mandana. So if you liked, what was that one called? The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. That took me a while to remember the title of that. If you liked that one, I feel like you would probably like this one. This one's pretty short too. It's only like, it's a little less than 300 pages, so I feel like maybe if I need something quick or if I'm getting into a reading slump, I'll come and pick this one up. And again, the cover is just so cute. And then last up, I have Sarah Adams's books. So I'm kind of chunking these all together. So I have When in Rome, Practice Makes Perfect, and Beg, Borrow, or Steal. So like I said, I'm going to loop these all in as one actually, but this is a small town standalone romance series, and I actually met this author a few weeks ago at Barnes & Noble Union Square for her release of Beg, Borrow, and Steal. And one of my friends like hypes up her books so much and she says that I'm going to love them, so I do really want to start these ones soon. I haven't read her other books though, so I do want to read the first two in this standalone series first, but I really want to get to Beg, Borrow, and Steal because I've heard that this one is about a type A eldest daughter teacher, and I'm also a type A eldest daughter and a former teacher. So as someone who is all three of these things, I feel like this main character is going to be very relatable. And I also heard Sarah Adams describe the male main character as the most competent man in the world. And that's how I feel about my fiance. I feel like he can kind of just like do anything without even really trying. So I feel like I'm really gonna relate to this one. I'm really excited for it. I have to read these two first though, because I don't want to go out of order. So that's Sarah Adams's books. Yeah, you. My fiance is actually listening and he just heard me say that and he goes, me? Like, yes, I've said that about you before. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. Those are my 25 books to read in 2025, including new releases and some books that are on my physical TBR. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's any books that I missed or any books you think I should read in 2025. Let me know if there's any books that you've already read that are on my physical TBR. Maybe I'll move them up in my TBR. Please do all of those classic YouTube things like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.